Good to see you again. Hope your Monday's going well. Let's keep seeking after God's things on this Monday with some weather piece. Looking at the weather map, the first feature of interest is a pair of lows in the east that are merging. The low first up over the Ohio River Valley today brought a lot of severe weather to like Missouri and Illinois yesterday. A quick bout with some tornadoes was active, but it's fading away and is moving off to the northeast. At the same time, another low has been dropping a lot of rain on Florida. It's moving up the Atlantic coast and it's starting to organize into a little more of a low. Not enough time to become tropical or anything like that, it doesn't look like, but they're moving up to the same area. And so by tomorrow, what you see is they organize into the same area off the East Coast, and that gathers together, brings some more rain over the northeast for a little longer. And the other thing it does is takes the cold front that was weakening and kind of gives it an extra bit of oomph. And so we actually may even see a bit of the effects here in Florida for the next day or two as you go to Wednesday on it. It fades, it's kind of pushing away, but just the last little remnants may bring a little cooler, a little drier, just ever so slightly, ever so briefly to Florida. And so that system moving out, it's done its thing. And the attention turns then towards the main system for the week as the lows coming in off the west coast. Again, that's been the pattern. I saw they've had like 10 inches of rain in a lot of spots in the Pacific Northwest along like the coastal ranges, and even kind of the broader areas seem like 3-4 inches in most spots. So it's been a welcome rain in the west coast, and that low is going to be the low that changes the pattern and gets things moving to where I think we're finally going to see real fall. I know we've talked about brief fall and we've all seen little spurts of it, but I think most people are waiting for something stronger, and it looks like that's finally becoming the case. The low really spinning and bringing the rain still into the Pacific Northwest. It's kind of the controlling main parent low, but the front's pushing away to the east. And so tonight it's over the Intermountain West. By tomorrow it's emerging into the plains and bringing some storms and rain with it. There's been some discussion. I know the Storm Prediction Center has an enhanced risk, a decent risk level of whether there's going to be severe weather and whether it's going to be bad storms. There's a lot of question marks with it because the timing looks to be pretty late in the evening, and the moisture and the temperatures don't look to be too supportive of surface storms. So I'm hopeful, I'm thinking that it's more aimed towards elevated storms and it'll more stay towards the western parts of the states of like Kansas and Oklahoma. We'll see. I'm planning on being around for it tomorrow through the evening. We're mainly talking evening into the first part of the night, and that can be good because it starts to cool off. It can also be bad because it's nighttime. So we'll get in there, we'll talk about it. I'm really thinking this should be the last severe weather event. Kind of hope that in the last system, or the system a week ago, but the next few fronts didn't make it very far, and so we have one more system where a little bit more moisture is coming up, but I think this hopefully will be the last one for kind of the heart of the country, the plains and the Midwest. We'll still have our winter storms along the Gulf Coast, but I think we're switching more to fall, because what happens is that front continues east, makes a lot of progress into the eastern U.S., and what will happen as the week goes on beyond this forecast is the low will kind of sit there and spiral in the eastern U.S., kind of like it's done the last couple weeks out in the Pacific Northwest, and that'll help just kind of continually bring that northwest flow of cooler air further and further. And so the front will push through Florida on Thursday, Friday, and then it will continue to reinforce. So we actually may see kind of more average, maybe even slightly below average temperatures in spots as it just kind of keeps coming. And then there's more lows in the Pacific Northwest. It looks like the pattern's changing. We're going to sit with the low over the east for a while instead of the low over the west. That's the weather, though. Some storms possible Tuesday in the plains, and then as this system progresses along the Gulf Coast and other spots, I don't see it as the top end severe weather event right now. I think mainly it's going to be hail and wind. We'll see about tornadoes. It's a very narrow corridor if it does come together, kind of like it was yesterday in Missouri and Illinois. And so it's not something everybody wants to panic. There's no need to panic about it and, it's going to be the end of the world. We'll get through it. It's going to be fine. We got this. tropically, nothing in the Atlantic. There's one wave up, well, this low, the previous low is ejecting off into the Atlantic. It may develop and push off in the North Atlantic, not going to affect anybody. There's a hurricane affecting Mexico, weak hurricane, the Pacific coast of Mexico. It's going to bring some rain. It's not looking like anything strong. In fact, it's already starting to fade. So nothing going on to like alarm. We got that severe weather this week. We'll be there. We'll talk about it. We'll handle it. But by God's grace, we're making it one day at a time. Looking at the Word, I want to talk faith. I want to talk what we're supposed to be in faith, because I always think of faith as like, hey, we just got to stand strong and we got to believe when it's hard to believe, and it's true. But in Matthew 15, there's some real direct personal messages of what faith is. And I'll read it to you. I'll just read the whole thing first, starting at Matthew 15:21. And to put some context in it, Jesus had already kind of, just in the previous verses, the Pharisees didn't like how he did stuff. They had their own rules that they'd made up. And Jesus said, you dishonor the rule. They challenged him, why aren't you doing these things? And he says, wait. You're dishonoring God by doing things the way you do. You're not following God. You're following the rules of man. So there'd already been this challenge within the built-up faith, like, mechanisms of Israel. And now this woman comes. Then Jesus went thence and departed unto the coast of Tyre and Sidon. And Tyre and Sidon are they're right on the edge of Israel. They're more up towards Syria. They're both on the coast, and they're shipping towns. And so this isn't the heart of where Jesus and everything has happened. Often it was Galilee and Jerusalem and right in the heart of Israel, and the Dead Sea and the Jordan River. And this is displaced from that. It's on the edge of Israel. So, and behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast and cried unto him, saying, have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with a devil. But he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, send her away, for she crieth after us. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, it is not meet to take the children's bread and to cast it to dogs. And she said, truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall at their master's table. Then Jesus answered and said unto her, O woman, great is thy faith. Be it unto thee even as thou wilt. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. I see some direct choices of faith here. Instead of just believe, she stood when it was hard to stand. And I think we each have ways where we don't stand always in these things, and we need to be convicted of this. First, he didn't answer her at all. He said nothing. She cried in the coast, and he did nothing. Nobody did anything. How often do we want something? We're going to God and we want something and nothing happens. How often do we need something from people and they don't respond? Put it like you're in the line at Taco Bell and the cashier just doesn't even pay you attention. How do we feel on that? We're upset, we're hurt, we're incensed. I mean, how easily this woman could have been disrespected. Windy day. Got to get a better tripod going on this. But she wasn't. She showed faith. She showed her heart. Then she's challenged. And whether the phrase with dogs, whether she understood it to mean like it likely meant, where it was saying, I'm here to be the blessing to Israel, because that's who God's promised and chosen people are. It's not from Israel. She's from Canaan, to the people in that area. Like I said, this is the edge of Israel, and these were not the Israelites. So whether she's there, whether she understands with the phrase about dogs, whether he's just saying, I'm not here for your people, because his ministry was to restore God's relationship with Israel. It was his first calling. That was the prophecies that had been spoken. That was what he was born into. He was fulfilling the prophecies to Israel, that he will be their chosen people forever. She's not that person. And repeatedly, it's these people haven't been made this grand promise. But who is she? She's challenged. Whether it's because she's just challenged because she's a Canaanite, or whether he's also challenging how she does things with her daughter. Either way, he's saying, who are you? Like, I'm not... What are you doing here? I tell you what, I've struggled so much when people just kind of come at you brusquely and challenge you on the things you have to stand in who you are. And that's what I'm here to say. It's being like, if you're in a room at the library and the librarian comes in and says, what are you doing in this room? And you're there for the right reasons. You're there to do something. You know why you're there. You chose to be there. You aren't trying to take advantage or hurt something. You're looking for something right. But I struggle when somebody comes to me and challenges me like that. Like, what are you doing here? Or accuses me of something that I didn't do. I've had that. It's cost me a lot in recent years. Or like, people say, why are you taking pictures of me? I'm not. Why are you taking advantage of me? I'm not. We need to know why we're there. We need to know who we are. We need to stand firm. That's part of faith. Faith is believing, but faith is knowing. And this woman came to see Jesus, knew who Jesus was, Jesus, and she came to see her daughter healed. And first she hears no response, then she hears, what are you doing here? Or, I'm here for these people. She could so easily have said, well, I don't belong here, I'd better go. But her faith, her passion, her heart was for the right things. She was there for her daughter who was hurting. So she stood strong. Yes, Lord, it's true. You're here to heal Israel, is what those verses about the dogs are saying. Lord, if I can just have a little. Just like the woman who just touched a hem of his garment. She believed and said, look, you're not going around looking like, I'm not the person who everybody's paying attention to looking to be healed. I've got a messed up issue. I'm not the person who looks like I should be saved and healed. But they pushed through. They said, I want it. I want what you have. I'm looking for you. And like the woman who reached for his garment and was healed, this woman says, yes, I'm a Canaanite. I'm not a Jew. I'm a Gentile. But I want what you're bringing. And the Pharisees a little while earlier didn't want it. And so the whole completeness is those who were invited to the wedding feast didn't choose it. Jesus came to save many nations, and we are in that nation. So we are saved. We are offered the salvation, the life. But we have to know who we are. We have to know what we're believing in. Just like this woman did. I know you can do this. I am standing in you. Her faith was strong. And then he says again, I have... still open. O woman, great is thy faith. Be it unto thee even as thou desired. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. Didn't he have to go to her? She was just made whole. Victory. God can do this. We're not backing down. We've got the Lord on our side. And that's what faith is. Hanging strong when there's challenges. Knowing who we are. Friends, I pray that you have a strong week. That you stick to what you know. Stick to what matters. Stick to who you are. And if you have anything I can pray about, I pray that I'll ask that you message me, that you seek me, because the prayers of a righteous believer availeth much. And who am I? Just like this woman, she knows she's a Gentile. She's not the person everybody sees as the chosen people. I mean, it's not the people God chose originally. But she wants God. And I'm not a perfect person, but I want God. You're not a perfect person. That's everything. Do you want God? Do you want God to be your best friend? And your answer, thy will be done, Lord. Not what we're looking for. You know the best way, and we've seen that again and again. Stand firm in your faith. Trust in God, because you've seen him work. And if you haven't seen him work, I can tell you I have, and many others have. So trust in the witness of others. Seek God. Ask him. Pray to him. Look for the answers in him. And trust that he is a revenant God. He knows what he's doing. He is great and glorifying. I hope you have a good week, and I'll see you on the flip side. Have a good Monday. Stay strong. Overcome the challenges. Just like the camera's falling down. Last night I tried to do a video. The mosquitoes were biting me. We keep going. We're not done. The devil doesn't have us. We're here to honor God. We're here to live it out. We're not here for long. Live it out, guys. Love you. God loves you.